Sarah, welcome to the feed. How are you?
Amazing. Thank you for having me.
So great to meet you. We're here in one of the most impressive retail stores probably in North America, and it's like a little city here. You and I have just been talking off mic about the scale and the scope of both this store and a visit to head office in Brampton, right?
Exactly. It's incredible in here. I kind of think that the entire population of PEI could fit in this one block of Toronto. So I'm a little bit starstruck looking around, but this store is incredibly gorgeous. Happy to be here.
Oh, fantastic. So where'd you grow up?
I grew up in Sudbury, Ontario, actually. I'm a Northern Ontario girl.
Oh, okay.
But ended up, as a chef, it's really easy to kind of go anywhere because you can always find work. So I ended up on the West Coast for a couple of years, bounced back and forth. But honestly, once I landed in PEI, I kind of felt like immediately that it was home. So that was about 18 years ago.
Talk about your chefing. Did you always want to be, were you always interested in the culinary arts? Did you always want to be a chef? How did you get into that?
My goodness. I think that those of us that are meant to be chefs just kind of end up there in a myriad of ways. I'm the kind of person that doesn't really sit down for a day job. I always like to keep busy, and the culinary industry feeds that very, very well. So I started in the industry at 16. Working at a YMCA camp, really remote on an island, and that's how the bug bit me.
Fantastic. Now, my experience of chefs are people who grow up, and you've got some formal training as well. You went on to do some formal training, right?
Absolutely.
In chefery.
I have my culinary diploma, and I also have an applied degree in culinary operations, and I got my Red Seal by the time I was 20.
What's the Red Seal? Tell us about the Red Seal. What does that mean?
It's a journeyman certification, kind of like any other trade, where you have to do 6,000 to 8,000 hours, sign off on a bunch of competencies. So I proved that I was a competent chef.
So I've talked to different chefs across, and they all have some have all the skills, some have different skills. Some are really good at making a lot of food very deliciously, very quick. Some are really good at creating food. Not all. I feel like you're the kind of chef that is good at kind of, I think these flavors and seasonings will go well together. Like, you seem to be a very creative chef. Is that always been the case?
I love that you can tell that right away. I think that I like to say that my focus as a chef is really working with what grows where I'm living and when. Choosing sustainable ingredients, building relationships with my farmers, fishers, and butchers is really, really key to what I do. But I can also knock it out of the park when I'm feeding 5,000 people for a banquet.
Right on.
Equally at home in research and development for food manufacturing too, it seems.
That scaling of, it's one thing to have an idea, it's one thing to make it for your friends, it's in the test kitchen. It's another thing to scale it and scale it with consistency, right? I think that's just such an important skill.
Oh my gosh, it can't be overstated. We make about between 1,000 and 2,000 hand pies a day now in our manufacturing facility, and every single one has to offer that in-restaurant experience of quality. So dialing in your standardized recipes, your procedures, standard operating procedures are kind of
your
where
SOP,
I live.
SOP, you need an SOP for everything, I'm sure. All right, so we've kind of transitioned into what we're here to talk about today. You've got an amazing company now, all the way. You've got the Handpie Company. Tell me about the first time you made this product yourself and you bit into it and you go, you know what? I think I might have something here. Talk about that first experience.
So it's a very nerdy story that I love to tell. I'm a little bit obsessed with the Outlander book series. And there is a chef on the West Coast who took all of the foods mentioned in the first Outlander book and turned it into a cookbook called Outlander Kitchen. So my husband gifted me that cookbook for birthday, Christmas, and there's a recipe in there called Brianna's Varieties, which is a Scottish version of a hand pie. When I cracked open that cookbook, it was to that page. It was a beautiful little personal pie, and I went to our local farmers market in Summerside, Prince Edward Island, bought all of the ingredients to make that recipe. So local butter, local flour, local potatoes, that one's local pork, and I think that one had local whiskey in it as well. When I made it, my husband's a trained chef as well, we both bit into our hand pie, and it was like cartoon fireworks came out of our heads. It was wild. We were like, why is no one doing this here? We grow all of the right things. We produce all of the right things on PEI. We're not just seafood.
Yeah.
So that
PEI
that was the spark.
I know PEI is a real center of culinary innovation and experience, right? I've talked to many entrepreneurs from PEI, and it's really a fabulous store. So I'm really happy that you're here expanding that across the country and taking it here to Toronto. All right, so to go to one thing, we've been talking about you being a chef, to being an entrepreneur.
Yes.
A very different muscle memory kind of muscle to exercise. You were sharing with me a kind of, the visit to even, we'll talk about getting together in grocery and your experience at Loblaw. Because I think you also had a cafe. So walk me through the transition of you going from a chef to an entrepreneur to the Handpie Company.
Nothing's ever linear with me. So when we moved back to Prince Edward Island, I had a very young child. We moved very rural, kind of near the Confederation Bridge that leads the island to the mainland. And there just wasn't a year-round career option for me where I was living. I had to kind of create the future that I wanted to see for myself. So I went on to do an apprenticeship on a local organic farm for 9 months to learn what grew there and when, to kind of forge those relationships. And during that time, I started brainstorming as to, what I could create. I launched a $10,000 Kickstarter to buy all used equipment, and I ended up opening up my first restaurant called Scapes, Fresh Local Takeout, in 2014, early in the spring 2014. It was 580 square feet, and that was production as well as retail space. It was so tiny, but hand pies were on that first menu.
And were they a hit right away? Did people have that kind of same experience that you and your husband had, like, wow, this is something really good? Or did it take a little time to build momentum? How fast did the word spread?
Kind of instantly. Honestly, everyone has that same reaction. You hear about pie and you have this preconceived notion as to what it is.
Yeah.
But as soon as folks take that first bite of hand pies, and I'm looking forward to seeing this all day today.
Yeah.
With the sampling that we're going to be doing. But as soon as folks take that first bite, it's game changing. We show them what pie can be.
It's such a great name because it's very literal. It's a pie that fits in your hand.
Yes.
But take us through a little bit of what your product offering is today, because you've got a few flavors, and just take us through some of that, the basic kind of stuff.
Awesome. So all of our crust and our savory pies is the exact same. It's made with 100% butter made in Prince Edward Island. 40% of the flour that we use is local organic heritage grain whole wheat flour that's grown and milled about 12 minutes away from our production facility. It's still warm from the mill when it arrives.
Wow.
It's incredible. So all the pastry is the same, but then our fillings, we try to keep everyone happy. So we have a traditional chicken pot pie, a flavor called bacon cheeseburger that is our best seller. We have 14 different SKUs. Loblaw only has 3 at this time. We are sampling 4 here today, so that gives me hope that we can branch out in the future. Wow. But then we also have really core vegetarian offerings like curry chickpea,
love it,
cheesy potato and onion. We have one that's a local rock star called beet corn and goat cheese. That's my favorite.
Now, these are all frozen pies, right?
Ready to bake, yeah.
Ready to bake, and how long you put them in the oven for what? How long I'm really just super curious.
I hope you're hungry. So the full-size frozen pies, you always bake them right from frozen in an oven at 420 degrees for about 40 minutes. You're looking for a really golden, even color, but in an air fryer, you can knock that down to about 17, 18 minutes.
Oh, interesting. Now, why so many SKUs? I mean, as an entrepreneur, you're trying to think about, you've got a rigor. Is there a scale you need to achieve? Does that help you get to your scale? You're going to have a couple of flavors. Is it a Pareto's law kind of business, 80-20, the most popular ones, but you want to round out the assortment? I'm just trying to get in your head a little bit about how you think about an assortment and your offering.
Now, the business side of my brain constantly fights with the chef side of my brain. And if I had my way, we would have 80 different pie SKUs. Now, because
do you wake up in the middle of the night with a flavor idea?
Sometimes.
Yeah. I bet you do.
And I have a culinary trained crew as well. So the core of us have all been together for about 10 years now. And sometimes we play this game called Will It Hand Pie, where we take our favorite food and see if we can turn it into a hand pie filling.
Your story is hilarious because I often ask food entrepreneurs what their innovation process looks like. Whiteboard, they're thinking next year I need a couple of new SKUs.
Oh gosh.
Do customers come in with ideas as well? And your grocer partners probably, hey, we think this would, so you got a lot of input, right?
So much input. Every customer thinks they have the next new best flavor.
Yeah.
It comes down to certain viscosities work well if we're going to get into the food science inside of a flaky pastry.
Yeah. Some things just won't work. Give me an example of something that just,
I can tell you about our biggest fail.
Yeah, please. Yeah. Tell about your biggest fail.
Wow. I love that this is going to go national or international. We tried to make a pizza hand pie. Oh. It was our most requested flavor. Every customer's like, you got to compete with...
Like a Hot Pocket kind of thing, right? Sure.
Yeah. It turns out that tomato sauce is far too liquid to work inside of a flaky pastry, and it pocketed. If anything makes steam inside of a hand pie, it kind of makes an empty space. But it also stays extra lava. So it's quite dangerous to bake and then sell hot. And yeah.
So whatever is happening in the ones you buy elsewhere, it's not going to work for your product. And
not with our pastry.
Not with your pastry product. So you've got these products, and as I listen to you, really have core values around local and how you think about where the product comes from. And how does that translate into the values that you communicate and your motivating drive to get this business going? Talk about how those things intersect with each other.
Thank you for asking that. Because I feel like a lot of businesses will preach, you have your core values and your mission. Ours was literally baked in from day one. I started this just with myself in a tiny little kitchen with my farmer friends supplying me, and holding on to those core values as we scaled with quality as a focus, maintaining the quality of the ingredients and of the end product, and just building up a team around me that shares those core values. Every scaling step we make, every new piece of equipment we bring in, every time we scale a recipe, to make, instead of 50 hand pies, it's making 500 or 1,000. That quality piece is never compromised on.
Talk about Pie It Forward.
I love that. Oh, you did your research on our website. So our Pie It Forward campaign, we're not really public about it. We set aside a certain amount of money every single year, and then we always go over budget. But to be able to donate some of our hand pies to folks that really need comfort food in their lives and might not be able to afford it at that time. Mm-hmm. So we do monthly donations to local food banks and women's shelters on Prince Edward Island. There is an endless need. And generally what you find on the shelves of a food bank are maybe convenience foods that don't have the same nutritional value that hand pie does.
Sure.
So I just know how game-changing it can be to have a really good meal when you really, really need it. And we like to be that for people.
That's fantastic. I was talking to the people that run the BC Vancouver Food Bank, and they actually made a big change. They no longer take donations from people of product.
Wow.
Because so much was coming in that was inappropriate, almost at past before date.
It's not fair.
And often they said we got enough peanut butter and raw pasta. And by the way, that's not really what our people are looking for. But thank you. So they just said, you know what, we're going to shut that part down. It's really interesting when you think about it, their logistics. And they said, we're just going to go source from the farmers, and we're going to put all the effort we go into soliciting, sorting, packing food, we're going to put somewhere else. So it's kind of interesting. It just resonates with me as you talk about you getting that fresh food, wholesome food into those areas. It's fantastic.
It's real. Everyone deserves real food.
Yeah. Now, you're started this business. I think you're in about 100 local stores. Talk about your commercialization into grocery. You're in stores in PEI. Talk about that a bit, or the Atlantic provinces.
Absolutely. So in 2019, I believe, we took on our first wholesale client. We had figured out fairly early on in our business life how to freeze hand pies so that customers could bake them at home and have the same quality experience that they would have in the store. So once we cracked that code, we could get onto our kind of local champion grocery store shelves. We still had clear packaging at that time with 3 hand-applied stickers and labels on each package. It was all black and white. We had no shelf appeal. Those early adopters, I'm endlessly grateful for. Shout out Riverview Country Market and PEI. But they brought us under their shelves, and we learned so much really quickly about what it's like to try to sell a product without folks having that experience of coming in and literally meeting me, which was the experience for the first many years, into our own shop. So we learned a bunch of things. I started working on getting some really beautiful new packaging done. Started that in end of 2019 and as we headed into 2020, we all know what happened with COVID.
Yep.
Our retail shop was only closed for 24 hours. We did a really quick pivot. I developed a website with an amazing guy named Brendan at Minotaur overnight.
Shout out to Brendan.
Shout out to Brendan. So that we could have curbside pickup starting the next morning.
Yeah, fantastic.
We became the comfort food for uncomfortable times and kept the team going. But during that time, when I couldn't be scaling, my brain always needs 10 projects. So I put my focus into the packaging of our 10-pack merchandiser box and our individual flow wrap packaging for each individual hand pie. Got that so ready. It was like pulling back the arrow during COVID so that when the island opened back up again, we could release the arrow, and everything just kind of really took off from there. We started getting into, I think at our peak, we had 27 local stores in Prince Edward Island. And for a population of 170,000 people, that was a lot.
Right. Your market was somewhat saturated at that point.
I would say it's really close. I think everyone in PI knows what a hand pie is.
No kidding.
But for us to be able to sell a single hand pie beyond the borders of our tiny province, I needed to have CFIA licensing.
Yeah.
So for us, that means...
You're federally licensed, right?
We are.
That's a big
There
thing.
aren't many people that hold the meat, dairy, and egg license that I do.
Yeah.
Or that we do. It took 2 years of construction to build this dream pie palace of a Hand Pie World headquarters where we do all of our production now. We have a regular team year-round. It is 11 people right now that are just focused on making hand pies at that federal license level.
Congratulations on that. That's both impressive and ambitious at the same time. I mean, to go for that federal license is a big deal, right? So let's talk about what brings you here today. We're here in the Maple Leaf Gardens store, Loblaw, in the small supplier booth. Talk about how you connected with Loblaw. What was your journey?
PEI is amazingly supportive for entrepreneurs that have grit, that are always looking to scale into that next step. Because we often need a bit of a leg up because we are so small. So to get off of the island, we need a bit of extra help. There's an organization called Innovation PEI that runs trade missions to Toronto. I found out about it through another friend, shout out Wade at Yo-Yo Cookies, who is now also all over Canada and America and a bunch of other countries. But he told me that the trade mission is where I needed to be. Got onto that trade mission. It was almost exactly a year ago. It was 13 months ago. I came here. I went to the Loblaw Tower in Brampton. Was very, very awestruck.
Big campus.
It's huge.
It is a city in and of itself, right?
It's gorgeous, but I got to pitch there. I brought a ton of samples and all of the PEI charm that I could muster, and it worked. It was several months of process to kind of go through onboarding with the small supplier program.
Sure.
We launched Atlantic with them, so I flow through the Moncton Distribution Center. We ship directly to them, and then they kind of shoot hand pies out all across Nova Scotia, New Brunswick, PEI, and Newfoundland is Dominion stores with Loblaw.
Yep.
And yeah,
Fantastic.
So here we sit today.
Any surprises in that in terms of what, by the time you scale, I guess two questions. What was your biggest learning? And I say that in the context of advice for fellow entrepreneurs who are going through a process similarly. What did you learn in that process? You say, here's my advice to you. Either to really be successful because you're clearly successful, or to say, here's a few watch outs, be careful of this. And then I'm also kind of curious, once you got it into the Loblaw stream, did the flavor choice change from consumers? Did they start selecting different things, and were you any surprises at the product level?
No surprises at the product level yet.
Okay.
I definitely think that we have a ton of opportunity to grow our sales with Loblaw. I think that we need a little bit more brand awareness outside of PEI. We're working on that. And honestly, into Ontario, this is the next target market for us. But what would the one piece of advice that I give to other entrepreneurs? Working with small supplier programs as a frozen product, especially as a frozen meat product, is very uncommon. So being very, very confident in your product, your process, your packaging, because your brain is going to be pulled in 800 other directions as you launch with larger chains. Learning how to navigate the portal. I can't stress it enough. Make sure you have the headspace and the caffeine going into that. It's a many multi-stage process.
And that portal, for those listening, that provides, as I understand it, lots of great information, it is really the heartbeat of the relationship on a day-to-day basis, right?
It's incredible. Instead of dealing with a human, which I do with many of my other smaller, organizations, I can walk into my local grocery stores and meet with the decision maker
Sure.
on the island. Here, you're dealing with an amazing group of people who might not be in your region. So just kind of.
And the small supplier program, they've got people who specialize in making all those connections, making it a bit easier for everybody. I mean, that's really what part of the program is about. But that portal I've been hearing several times is a real key to success, but it takes some focus, right?
It does, absolutely. You just need to be ready for that.
Lots of caffeine, maybe a few pies.
Endless amounts of ham pies, but huge shout out to
which is generally good advice for everybody all the time, right?
Eat more pie.
Eat more pie, eat more pie. Last question for you. So if you and I were sitting down here 5 years from today, what are your hopes? What's your ambition, and what do you hope we're talking about?
Man, in 5 years, I hope to be able to point in one direction in the store and show you our display. Getting into Ontario is a massive goal of mine. All of my family still lives in Ontario, and they can't get hand pies unless they fly to come see me, which is a nice lure right now. But,
Sure.
The Ontario market is hungry for hand pies, and we want to supply them. I have the production facility with the capacity and the team.
You're ready. You're federally. You've put a lot of investment into that growth opportunity. So 5 years from today, I really hope to see that happen. I think you're such on a great path. So congratulations on all your success so far, and I wish you much continued success and safe travels back home. And you're gonna have a great day. Gonna meet lots of people, and
I know.
It's gonna be a lot of fun.
Thank you very, very much for having me.
Thanks for joining me.
Cheers.